What's good, family? It's your man the YB, back once again. Big shout out to my doggy Weps for coming through and wepsing up your man the YB's dire coin situation. 1,000,000%. So, Dillian Whyte nicked a win over Jermaine Franklin. Now, Jermaine Franklin's come out hot, saying he got bumped, saying he came to the UK and some moody looking ass judges have bumped him. Now, to be fair to him, he did get one judge. He got the 115 a draw, I believe it was. Now, this fight could have gone either way, but based on the way I do things, people laugh, oh, YB, you're a madman. Listen, I don't judge things on a traditional round by round basis. I judge things looking at the full package, inside and outside the ring. And my point is, number one, Dillian Whyte was a 10-1 favourite. Now, that's not his fault, but the reason that's relevant to me is the fact that when you're a 10-1 favourite and you're acting like a 10-1 favourite, as Dillian was doing, we best see at least a 2-1 favourite performance. Do you know what I'm saying? If you're a 10-1 favourite, yeah, don't let me see you in a 50-50 fight, because if you are, you lost a fight, in my opinion. Yeah, Dillian was walking around like the boss man, yeah, giving it all the boss man talk, and then got in the ring and really went life and death. I'm going to be honest. And even when in the last round, Dillian rocked Jermaine. But even then, when they replayed it in slow motion, it was a balanced shot. He wasn't actually, from what I saw, neurologically compromised. It was a big, heavy... I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Franklin was obviously tired, but so was Dillian. Neither man, this fight really was as good. Bearing in mind all the factors, yeah, like the fact Dillian was a clear A side and etc, etc. This fight was a draw. Honestly, the fight was a draw. This fight needed to be replayed back. And the amount of yama Dillian was giving it, we didn't see any of that yama, did we? Where was the class in that sense? Now, to be fair to Dillian, he stayed on his P's and Q's. In fact, that last round, I mean, it got a bit hairy at points. And Dillian Whyte, it has to be said, Dillian Whyte is an accident waiting to happen. And I do have to say, strategically, Franklin's game plan was whack. Before the fight, I said to everyone, can you imagine if Franklin doesn't throw any uppercuts? Now, I don't know. Again, we all know it's easy for us to Monday morning quarterback. It's easy for us to critique boxers, yeah. But I'm just saying, I can't believe, knowing what we know about Dillian, Franklin didn't throw one uppercut. Did he? Dillian was throwing more uppercuts. All I saw from Franklin all night was everything but the uppercut. I thought, what the fuck? I didn't see any real strategic... Honestly, I expect every fighter who fights Dillian to say, everyone after this fight will be saying, yeah, Franklin came, or whoever came, to throw an uppercut. If you're fighting Dillian Whyte and you're not trying to build an uppercut into your game plan, I don't know what you're doing. And I genuinely, I don't remember seeing any uppercuts thrown. Particularly when Dillian... again, to be fair to Dillian was on his P's and Q's. He got caught against Fury, he was walking forward, he was like leaning forward. He didn't do too much of that tonight, in all fairness. But still, in that last round in particular, there was a few occasions Dillian started getting reckless and hunting for the stoppage. And that was when he started. In fact, that's what happened against Fury. Dillian started trying to press forward, leaned forward and got clipped. But Franklin just didn't seem to be thinking about the uppercut side of things. And Dillian's chin, clearly, he can take a right hand. He can take a hook. I don't know what it is, he can't take an uppercut. But we wouldn't know that by watching Franklin's performance because he didn't throw none. Now again, it's easy for me to sit there and say, I'm not in the ring. Is it a case of, well, it wasn't there? I don't know. But Povetkin made it there. Yeah, AJ made it there. You won't know if it's there if you don't throw it. It's not like, for example, yeah, if we saw Jermaine Franklin, oh well, YB, he threw a few of them. Did you not see round 4 YB where Franklin put a few uppercuts in and he got countered, or they missed wildly? Now, it wasn't one of them ones. He just didn't throw them at all. So that is something that he needs to kick himself on. Now, whilst in my judge book, I penalise Dillian for being the A side and not really showing it, equally, Franklin was the underdog. Franklin was coming to the UK as the underdog. Relevance? Well, did we really see him? To be quite frank, neither man looked that bothered. I didn't see the dog. Yeah, no, and actually, no, that's a lie. There was every time. That's one thing I do have to rate, and that's why ultimately this fight for me was a draw. Yeah, there's no way any man who tells you Dillian won the fight lying. This fight was a textbook draw, because every time Dillian did do something, Franklin came back like a dog. That was one of the highest level things I saw Franklin do. Every time he made sure he had the last word. That said though, neither man, I just didn't see, these two look like the same level dudes, but that's the truth. Well, I can't sit in. Anyone who tells you there's a golfing class, I didn't see the golfing class. It does have to be said, I think this probably the only thing that arguably won Dillian the fight was his ring generalship. Franklin kept on conceding the centre of the ring. And I don't care, even though people say, oh well, IB, it's not scoring points. I'm just telling you, psychologically and visibly as a judge, if you see someone always giving up the centre ring, always heading towards the ropes, it's harder to win a fight that way. And that's really, I think, if Franklin had made it his business not to go backwards, if Franklin had fought the same fight, but just not always, it seemed to me 90% of the time Franklin was looking to go back. If he hadn't done that, if he'd have been looking to be neutral and keep the fight in the centre of the ring, because the thing is, it wasn't like he was pinned on the ropes, and the Franklin versus Dillian Whyte, it wasn't like Shields versus Marshall, where Marshall was walking forward and putting shots together on the ropes, and Franklin was having to dodge and dive for his life. It was okay. Franklin was actually working well after. He wasn't ever on the ropes. He wasn't living on the ropes. He was getting back towards the ropes and then working from there. So it's quite a weird thing. I can't work out why. He wasn't using the ropes. You didn't see him sitting back on the ropes and catching and whatever else. It just seemed to be a bit of a psychological error where he'd get to the very edge and then start doing great work. Now, if he'd have held his feet and done that same work from the centre ring, it would look 10 times better, and he'd have picked up more rounds and probably won the fight, in my opinion. But the fact he chose to put his work in, when you're working against the ropes, yeah, when you're doing things against the ropes, it doesn't have the same shine to it as it does when you're working in the centre of the ring. Because the minute people see, okay, he's against the ropes and now he's working, it looks like you're being forced to work. It's not a dominant thing to do. Be backed up and then working, it's almost like, okay, he's pressured, he had no other options. If you choose to hold the centre of the ring and then work, that's like, yeah, man. You know what I mean? He's setting pace. And for whatever reason, Franklin erroneously allowed Dillian to look as... I mean, Dillian wasn't that busy. That's got to be said as well. And that's why the fight was a draw. But Dillian wasn't setting the pace and being the ring general and then working off that. That's all really Dillian did do, was dominate the centre of the ring and apply pressure. But there weren't nothing else coming with it. Dillian was edging forward. He wasn't bringing a whole steam train with it. Like I said, Dillian was edging forward and being the ring general. Really, he was getting pieced up. I do have to salute, for whatever reason, I do have to salute Buddy McGirt's Dillian defence. Now, Dillian's never been messy, but Dillian was on his P's and Q's. That's what he did well. Unfortunately, we didn't see it translate, if that makes sense. His defence was tight, but we didn't see that translate into his offence. Really, this fight was just a classic draw. Neither man had that pizzazz. It does have to be said. There was a time, I remember probably I don't know how many years ago. However many years ago, there was a time people were saying, wow, probably with Mark Tibbs, to be honest. There was a time people were saying, wow, Dillian's going from strength to strength. I think it's quite evident now Dillian has well and truly peaked in that sense. Yes, his defence was a little tighter, but a little tighter against what? We don't even know how good Franklin was. Let's not forget that, people. Franklin was a 10-1 underdog. Yeah? The point of that is, Dillian looked okay defensively against a 10-1 underdog. That never should have been the case. What's going to happen with someone like AJ. No, AJ is a bit iffy, but I'm talking about someone with proper offense. Because Dillian really he was tight, but it was, you know what I mean? I just didn't see no oomph from neither man, really. But what we know about AJ is, well, he ain't got no oomph either, but I'm saying someone with more firepower is what I'm getting at. Anyone with firepower is going to beat Dillian, it looks like now. Franklin, that's one thing that also has to be said. Neither man really was able to get each other's respect. I didn't see neither man really say. Normally when you got a golfing class, normally when someone's the clear A side, you see them hit their opponent and their opponent's like, oh shit. And you see them backing up and scared and whatever else. We didn't see that. Neither man was able to really get the other's attention. Which is why this fight was a draw. Another key element. Dillian, for all of his A-sideness, he wasn't able to show that. Franklin's a real guy as well. That has to be said. He's a real guy. He turned up and he turned up to win. He didn't turn up though like a young hungry bull. That's the God's honest truth. Now I did a video yesterday. His corner, Franklin's corner, was talking about I'm the young bull, I'm going to bully you, all this kind of stuff. And that's fine. But we didn't actually really see that one. I was expecting Franklin to really try and dog walk Dillian. Did we see that? No. You came to the UK as the B-side, and yeah, you put in a draw performance, but I can't sit here and tell you that Franklin went that extra mile. Yes, he was tired, but in all fairness, when Dillian was 30 years old, look at how Dillian performed against Joseph Parker. My point? Well, when Dillian was the young guy, the hungry guy, the up-and-coming guy, he left it all out there. Dillian exerted himself to such a degree he was falling over because he was that gassed. Did Franklin put himself out there like Dillian did against Parker? Dillian knew, listen man, I'm fighting Joe Parker. He's the former world champion. I need this to move on. I must get this W. Dillian was desperate to win. Franklin is now that Dillian. Franklin's now become the Dillian. Unfortunately, I didn't see that dying hunger to win. He was almost happy to fight at Dillian's pace. And you can't afford to do that in the UK. You can't afford to do that as a 10-1 underdog. You can't. You have to make it clear, I'm winning this fight. And he didn't do that. He fought well. He fought to a draw. Getting a draw in the UK against Dillian's a great outcome. That's what it should have been. Dillian himself didn't do enough to win, being the A-side. But to sit here and for me to tell you that Dillian deserved to lose, that's also a lie. Neither man put themselves. Watching that fight, I'd say they're both the same level. And that's the problem. That's why it was a draw. Dillian's going to move on. And that's the hard thing for Franklin. Franklin, did he not know that? Franklin knows the AJ fight is a big fight with Dillian. Equally, Franklin knows if I beat Dillian, I'm going to get a $10 million fight with AJ. So there's two driving factors here. Franklin should have been thinking, I need this. This is going to make my career. I've got a $10 million payday coming. All I got to do is beat Dillian. I didn't see that kind of vibe from him. Equally, I didn't see a vibe of, oh, I'm in the UK. I know Eddie Hearn wants to make... Eddie Hearn doesn't really want to make Franklin versus AJ. That's not a big pay-per-view fight. I know if the judges have a chance, they're going to give it to Dillian for obvious reasons. Despite them two big motivators, I've got to really take this from Dillian. He was just going for the motion. So neither man can be... Franklin was on the blower. Oh, I got robbed. No, man. You didn't get robbed. It was a close fight. You probably could have won, but you didn't really leave it all out there like that. So really, you got no one to blame but yourself. If you come to these kind of fights, as a big underdog, don't be shocked when you lose a close fight. You know what I mean, I'm pretty sure Franklin before this, would have agreed. Yeah, if the fight's close, Dillian's probably going to. In fact, in the press conference, they said, Franklin's team said, we ain't going to try and make no mistakes. We know. They said that. They said we know. They said we know. We're not going to leave it to the judges because we know what time it is. We know they ain't going to give us nothing for free. And that's great. So wait a minute. You said that before the fight. You said we're going to knock this guy out and he's not going to be able to speak. He's going to be murmuring. He's not going to be able to mumble by the time we finish with him because we know it's one of them ones. But yet in the fight, and even his corner, to be honest, his corner weren't bad, but they weren't really telling him, yo man, it's go time. Yes, you may have been picking some of these rounds up, as he did. One judge had it right as a draw. But his team didn't tell him, yo man, it's go time. The last 4 rounds, in all fairness, Franklin looked tired. They both looked tired. Neither one looked that sharp. But as a corner here, you've got nothing to lose. Franklin's corner should have been telling him in the last 4 rounds, yo man, this fight's 50-50. And we're in the UK. Do you want... I'd have told him straight, listen, do you want this $10 million AJ fight or not? If you don't, keep doing what you're doing. And we may or may not win. If you're hungry for this, come and show us. And Franklin had a great high guard. He was just weren't looking to really push on with it. For someone like Dillian, I'd have liked Franklin to have the same high guard and walk forward and start putting some of them uppercuts on. We didn't throw any uppercuts, but you know what I mean? Start putting some of his... That's the problem. That's probably the big thing about Franklin, actually. Thinking about it now, all of Franklin's work was on the back foot, wasn't it? I don't ever remember, really. Yes, there was a few occasions where they was on against the ropes and there was a bit of tuss and tuggle, but I don't actually remember many exchanges where Franklin would have his guard up and put shots together pressing forward. I don't really remember any of them ones. I remember most of Franklin's work coming when he's been backed up and then he's working from close to the ropes. It would have been nice to see Franklin applying pressure. That's, in my mind, yeah, and in most judges' minds, what's the best way to show a judge you want this fight and you want to win this fight? It's by going forward and putting your hands together. And we didn't actually see, probably less than 5% or 10% of Franklin's offense was in that fashion. And he had the high guard. But he was happy to have the high guard, yeah, and catch Dillian's jab and play a little. He wasn't really looking to press. Now, I'm not saying he needs to go in there like Rambo, but that mix and match. Let the judges know at least, yeah, I can press this guy. Which he didn't do. After that fight, I couldn't tell you if Franklin can press Dillian Whyte or not. The whole night, really, he was happy to go at Dillian's pace. That he needed to mix it up. In the UK, Franklin should have made it his business. I'm going to show these judges that if I want to. It's fine to do what he was doing here, but he didn't do the mixer. He didn't show the judges that, you know what, I can do both. I can piece him up from what I've been doing, and also I can press him and touch him all over. There was no pressing and there was no touching all over. It was all at Dillian's pace, and that's why really I think he lost. So Kit Franklin, yeah, he got no one to blame but himself. Franklin was saying, about the draw and rematch. Listen, bro, yeah, you could have pushed a rematch. Look at Povetkin. All you have to do with Dillian, it's not rocket science. All you have to do is thump him up and you get a rematch. You weren't really trying to put yourself out there like that. Oh, I'm not even talking about getting a knockout. Fair enough, yeah. Franklin could have forced a rematch argument. He could have. It was on a plate for him, in my opinion. He could have done that extra bit, yeah. Not necessarily knock Dillian out, but if he'd gone in there, yeah, and Dillian's a prideful man. If Franklin had put himself out there, who knows what might have happened? In as much as, well, he could have won a few more rounds for a start, but you know what I'm saying? That fight, he didn't have to, it was missing that spark as well. Eddie Hearn, this fight, we already know the numbers for this fight have been low. Do you think Eddie Hearn going to want to put on another low thing? Another low number show? And like I said, it's one thing, if you've gone in there and it's a blockbuster fight, the fight wasn't boring, it was a decent fight, but it weren't blockbuster, was it? It's not a fight people are going to be begging for a rematch for. So, again, Franklin ain't really thought this one through too much. He must have thought he can come to the UK and box well and just take a fight on points. I don't know, you know what I mean? It's one of them ones. He'll learn from it anyway. He's a top, either way you look at it, Franklin's a top guy. He's certainly top 10. Franklin versus Zhang or Franklin versus Hrgovic would be a 50-50 fight. But yeah, the top guys, Fury, Wilder. I mean, that's the thing about top guys. Who even are the top guys anymore? Because really, that Franklin or that AJ, if you can take a punch here, AJ's in trouble, in my opinion. If you can take a punch, you can get AJ and you can ask questions of AJ. So even AJ ain't in that top one anymore. Honestly, I'm not sure if you put Franklin in there with AJ, I'm not sure how it goes, you know. Because look at the few times Usyk hit AJ, he was looking Yeah, and that's and that's Usyk. Usyk don't punch like Franklin does. No way, Jose. And that's why, in my opinion, it's so scary for your man's AJ. But anyway, man, listen. It is what it is. It's a bit leave it for both men. AJ versus Dillian now. That's an interesting fight. Because Dillian don't look too good. And I want to see how finished AJ is. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Smash the like button, subscribe, and lick off the bell 100%.